Hey guys, I'm JT Shaver, and if you've been racking your brain trying to find the perfect light so you can finally get started as a filmmaker or a YouTuber, then ooh, this might be the one. Wow. This is the NanLite Forza 60, and it's what I would call a value light. It's not in the budget category, but it's also not in the premium category, at least as far as price goes. It might just be the perfect balance of both, and that's what I think makes it one of the best values out there right now, because it's something you'll find yourself using 5 or even 10 years down the road. This light is the exact same brightness as the Godox SL60W, but you can look up all the tech specs online, and in this video, I just want to show you all the things that I think make this light special. Number 1 is the build quality and the design. Is it wrong to be slightly attracted to a light? The Forza series of lights is not only one of the most attractive lineups that I've seen, but they're made out of metal, carbon fiber, and really nice plastic, so they're built to last. Number 2 is the size. This thing has a footprint the same size as my phone, which is just crazy, and it weighs in at under 2 pounds. This is the smallest COB light that I've ever seen anywhere near this bright, and that's partially because the power brick is separate from the head, but even so, this thing is absolutely tiny. So not only does it take up less space, but that means you can use smaller, lighter tripods, and you have more flexibility to do something like I did and mount it to a desk, or even use it with something like a small friction arm. Side note, I'll be posting a video soon on how I did this desk-mounted light setup, and also showing you some other tips on streamlining a small studio space, so if you want to see that, make sure you hit subscribe. Number 3 is the fan noise. I get this question literally every single day, asking how loud the fan is on any given light. The good news is that the Forza 60 does have a fan, but it's on the quieter end of the spectrum, and the best part is that you can manually turn the fan off and make it run dead silent. When you turn the fan off, the power is limited a little bit, but it's still plenty, so for example, for these talking head type videos, I have the fan turned all the way off, which limits the power, and then I have it set to 50% brightness on top of that. So I'm at ISO 400, 1/50th of a second, and f2.8, so there's still plenty of headroom to go, even before I have to turn the fan on with this light. The next thing that makes this light special is the carrying case that it comes with, and a lot of budget lights don't include any kind of case, so you have to keep them in their shipping box, which honestly just sucks. Or you have to go out and find a case that will fit the light. So if you plan to travel with your lights, you'll have to hunt down a case and spend probably another $50, and most budget lights don't even have an optional case that's available. So when it's all said and done, you might end up paying just as much or even more for an inferior light. And I want to reiterate that the case that comes with the Forza 60 is really nice. It's probably the best case that I own for any of my lights. The 5th thing that I like is that it comes with built-in special effects, and built-in effects aren't something new, but most budget lights do not include any at all. This light does have some built-in effects, and although it's not a buttload like I've seen on some other lights, it does have 3 of the most important. Those effects simulate lightning, a burned out light bulb, and a flickering TV set. So I find that a limited selection of effects is actually better, because I find a lot of the other ones pretty gimmicky, and honestly I've just never used them on a project, so just having the ones that you use most and nothing extra saves time, and you don't have to scroll through a million different effects. Number 6 is the amount of accessories that are available for this light. I will mention right away that some of the accessories are pretty pricey, so although I think this light is a really good value, if you plan to pick up all the accessories, just be prepared to spend a whole lot more. The first thing that's probably going to be the most popular is the 24-inch softbox and the grid, but the softbox is $179 and the optional grid is another $39. So this is by far the most expensive accessory for this light, and it's kind of odd because it seems like it should be one of the most basic. It is built really nicely, and it has 16 sides and is an easy setup type, and it also comes with a 1-stop and a 2-stop diffusion panel. There's also a battery handle for this light that's $49, and it accepts 2 NPF batteries and has a standard 5/8 inch receiver, so you can mount it on a light stand. That way you can run this light with no cords hanging down and even grab it and pick it up and use it handheld anytime. The battery handle also has little feet that fold out, so you can set it down on a tabletop, and it also has a built-in battery level indicator, which is really handy. There's also a Fresnel focusing lens that includes barn doors for $99, and lastly, a Bowens mount adapter for $30. Yes, it's a very important thing to note about this light that it does not have a native Bowens mount, and I'll get to that. Besides the price of the softbox, there are some other downsides to this light. The first thing that I already mentioned is that it is not a native Bowens mount. It's a proprietary mount, and it's actually just a mini Bowens mount, and I'm sure they did that to keep the size down. This used to be a big problem because they didn't have any kind of Bowens mount adapter, so you were stuck using all the accessories built specifically for this light. They've since come out with a Bowens mount adapter, and I actually find it much more useful than you might think for a couple reasons. The adapter attaches to the light stand directly, and then that way the light hangs off the back and the modifier hangs off the front. So the light kind of works to balance the modifier and makes adjusting the light a little bit easier. You can also then use the yoke on the light itself to hang the power supply, and that also helps balance the light even further. The Forza 300 and 500 do have a native Bowens mount, so just keep that in mind. The next thing is that the power brick is separate from the head, but that's definitely a personal preference thing in my mind. When the power is included in the head unit, you have less stuff to carry around, but it makes it bigger and heavier and makes heat dissipation harder, so it usually has a louder fan. When the power is separate from the head, it makes it smaller and lighter, and it keeps heat away, so heat dissipation is easier, and it usually has a quieter fan. And when you separate the power from the head, that opens up the possibility to run the light on batteries much more easily. Lastly, I want to mention that this light does not include a remote. A lot of people would expect a light of this price to include a remote, but if you want one, it'll cost you another $49. The good news is, if you're buying a whole set of lights, whether it's the Forza 60, 300, or the ridiculously bright 500, the same remote will control all of them, so you just need to pick up one. You also have the option of foregoing the remote completely if you want to save a few bucks. This isn't going to be the cheapest light out there, but it's definitely not the most expensive. For example, the Aperture 120D Mark II is around $750, so you can usually buy around 3 Forza 60s for the same price. A Godox SL60W is around $130, and if you were to buy a case, that's another 50 bucks. So the Forza 60 is around $75 more, but you get a smaller and lighter light with built-in effects, less fan noise, and the option to use NPF or even V-mount batteries if you have the right cable. Overall, I think you're going to get more for your money with this light, and if down the road you need something brighter like the Forza 300 or even the 500, this 60 is going to be your go-to light for a backlight or a fill light. So personally, I can see myself using this light for a really long time. And that's part of why I think this light is a really great value, because it really does feel like a long-term investment when you buy one, rather than some of the budget lights can feel more like just a gadget that you're going to use for a while. NanLite is also releasing all kinds of other cool lights, so I'm going to try to pick up as many of those as I can to share them with you guys, so if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe. So what do you think? Does any of this make the NanLite Forza 60 more or less appealing to you? Leave a comment and let me know what you think. I'll have a link to this light and its accessories in the description, and if you decide to buy it, they are affiliate links, but it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it really does help me create more videos like this. That's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching, and go hug your mother.